All right, hey everybody. I'm Mitch Steele from New Realm Brewing Company.
All right.
This is a bonus episode of the Brewer to Brewer podcast from All About Beer. My guest today is Kevin Moreland from Fretboard Brewing in Cincinnati, Ohio. He is here at the Sun King Brewery with me in Indianapolis during the CBC for a conversation that goes beyond the brew house and into topics that matter to brewing professionals and curious beer drinkers. First, please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. And to support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. We'll get into the conversation in just a moment, but first, this message.
Since 2009, Brewery Branding has been crafting merch that helps breweries thrive. They're born and raised in Portland, Oregon, giving them front row seats to the craft beer revolution and inspiring them to serve as your industry ally for everything branded. Apparel, headwear, drinkware, and all of the wouldn't it be cool if ideas you can dream up. Brewery Branding has been there, done that, and made the t-shirts to prove it. Brewery Branding didn't rise to the top just by being just another supplier. They're your merch mercenaries, ready to get in the trenches with you. Their expert design team, online stores, warehousing, and fulfillment services are here to make your life easier and your custom goods more profitable than painful. Whether you're refreshing your retail space, gearing up for festival season, or launching a new product in retail, Brewery Branding delivers custom goods that are on trend, on brand, and ready to succeed. From the smallest batch to the biggest order, nothing gets them more excited than raising a glass to your success. Visit brewerybranding.com to learn more. First Tea is a proud sponsor of the Brewer to Brewer podcast. First Tea has worked with top brewers across the country to bring popular and innovative ingredients to beer and hard tea. Contact First Tea to learn more about natural and flavorful teas, botanicals, and instant teas. Email info@firsttea.com. That's FIRSDTEA.com to find out more.
All right, let's get going here. So a bit about Kevin, and we're going to have a fun conversation because we do a lot of similar ideologies. So I think this is going to be fun. So Kevin Moreland, his title is conductor. He is the COO, partner and production manager at Fretboard Brewing Company in Blue Ash, Ohio. He started as a home brewer in 2000 and followed his dream as a head brewer at Listerman Triple Digit Brewing Company in Cincinnati, followed by becoming co-founder and head brewer at Taft's Ale House in Cincinnati. So if you've been in Cincinnati a while, you certainly know of these places. In 2017, he established KDM Solutions LLC, Brewing Solutions LLC, a brewing consulting company in 2017. Rock local, drink local. That is Kevin. Kevin, welcome to the conversation here today.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. And John, thanks for putting this on. Also, I got to thank Sun King for letting us do what we do out here. And, Mitch Steele. We got a lot of stories. We got some fun stuff to talk about. And I do agree with you. We share the same passions of rock and roll, music, and good beer. So we got a lot to chat about.
Yeah, we certainly do. This is going to be fun. So, Kevin, let's just start off and get the conversation going and just talk about how you got into brewing and how that all happened. What led you to this as a career?
Well, I got to tell you, my lovely wife is here. Julie, she's sitting right over there. I will tell you, we've been together for quite some time. I'd say my whole brewing career. She got me a Listerman's homebrew kit to try out as we were dating in the early 2000s. I would say that fell into a passion, right? So you get home and you open this kit up and you're like, oh, God, how bad am I going to make this beer? And we actually did make a bad beer, our first beer. But I tell you, after that first beer that she allowed me to make in her mom's kitchen, it was a little rough. But I got to tell you, it determined me at that point that I found something I liked, and it was a challenge, and I liked the challenge, but it inspired me to do more. So I would say that and the history of Cincinnati, which I know we'll talk about a little more on the podcast here, but the beer history was something that Julie's father was big into, and he got to talk to me a lot about some of those old pre-prohibition brands like Christian Moreland, the Hudipole, and the Little Kings brands of Cincinnati. So that's what got me started for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
So thank you, Julie.
Cincinnati has such a rich brewing tradition, and not enough people know about that. So
Right.
we'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
So you worked a couple of brewing gigs before you got on with Fretboard.
Yeah.
How did you hook up with the folks at Fretboard, and how did that all happen?
Well, in my early days, obviously starting as a home brewer, starting meeting Dan Listerman first. I would tell you my career would not be where it is today without meeting the infamous Dan Listerman. He's a character of his own mind, but he gave me the opportunity to take over his brewery at a young age. I was in my early 20s, getting started in the craft brewery world when the beer business was just getting ready to start booming. And I took that brewery with Dan along the way, and we grew that pretty decently throughout the Midwest. We was able to win some awards for sure, but just built a lot of good relationships back then. And a part of those relationships, I got to be involved with the Bloatarian Brewing League. Any Jaipes out there? The Jaipes of the Bloatarian Brewing League was the largest homebrew club with people like Randy Mosier and Ray Spangler, and these guys helped build and craft, I would say, the home brewing community around our Cincinnati, Ohio area. So I would say through that, I was able to meet Brad and some of the guys that are involved with Fretboard through my consulting company. So in my career, I was able to do a lot and to learn a lot along the way. And my brewing consulting company, I got to meet Brad and Joe and Jim, my other business partners with Fretboard. And at that point, they were investing a lot of capital to build their first craft brewery that was music themed. And they only brewed in buckets at that point in their lives. So I decided to reach out, and we knew acquaintances and said, hey, man, this is a big investment. You want to get started on the right foot. You got one chance, one reason, and one way to do it right. So I'm willing to help you out. And so that's how we really kicked off the relationship, was through my consulting company. So
that's fantastic. And certainly, having the experience you did, certainly, in the years of experience that you had, certainly helped, I'm sure. And for those of you that haven't been to Fretboard Brewing Company in the Cincinnati area, and we'll talk about their locations here in a bit, you owe yourself a trip, especially if you like music. So Kevin, why don't you just chat a little bit about Fretboard? And I remember, when I first heard about you guys and met you guys at craft brewers conferences and things like that, and I was just like blown away by how well you integrated everything that you were trying to do and just really make a very unique place. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, Mitch, that's a great question. Hopefully everybody in the room knows what a fretboard is, right? So a fretboard is the end of the guitar. So it's the neck of the guitar, and all of the lines and dots are frets. So Fretboard is obviously a music-themed brewery, and we share the same passion of craft beer and music in all of our locations. So I would say that passion started with my business partners. We shared the same, passion for music and beer. When you grew up in Cincinnati, a little brewery before its time was called Barrel House Brewing Company, and a guy named Rick DeBar, great brewer, went on to like Omagong and some other places after he started that brewery. I would tell you, it was centrally located in downtown Cincinnati, but they ran it with a music theme, and they had live music of local acts on stage all the time, and that place was before its time, man. We're talking early 90s, just way before its time in our market, and they lost their lease which lost the passion, lost the location, and those guys went on to do another thing. So with that, I was like, I met my business partners that I'm with now, Brad, Joe, Jim, and I was like, guys, I love the idea of bringing that feeling back in today's market. I mean, who doesn't like music and beer? I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, So when I heard that they were doing this, I definitely wanted to be a part. I mean, in the back of my mind, as a consultant, I wanted them to succeed as a local business. But that music really drove me closer to them and really wanted to be a part of that action. So
that's great. And you know, I remember the first time I walked into your brewery and I saw the big stage and the full PA system and
the light bar.
I mean, it is set up for shows, and it was just absolutely amazing. And I was like, yes, somebody's finally doing this, because
honestly,
you know,
Mitch, I think you reached out to me and you're like, oh my God, Kevin, Fretboard. That's an awesome name for a brewery.
I remember when I first saw it, and I'm like, okay, I got to get to know these guys, you know? And walking in there and just seeing the passion for music. And you know, it's got kind of this, craft beer has always been kind of, I don't know, loosely associated with music in a lot of ways. There's a lot of craft brewers that are musicians. Right. There are a lot of craft brewers that are huge fans of all kinds of music. And it's certainly something that has floated my boat in the industry for a long time, is just really combining those passions. You know, how did that work for you guys? You know, I mean, it's not always easy when you're chasing the dollar and you're trying to sell beer. Yeah. And how do you create that experiential thing that you guys have at Fretboard, where people come in and they're immersed in both beer and music? How did you do that successfully without one thing going off the rails?
Well, honestly, it's staying true to the core, right? I mean, you got to stay true to what you believe. And let me tell you, I hate to tell everybody in the room how much we spend on music every year, but it's a pretty penny. But you spend it, they'll come. Yeah. I believe you that, right? Yeah. It's just like craft beer. You've got to use the best ingredients in your beer. You spend all the money for all the QC equipment. That's the same we feel about the beer or about the music. Yeah. So it's called good acts, buying good sound equipment. You mentioned it, Mitch. You walked in, you're like, Kevin, the light bar, just the soundboard alone, and just, you know, the infrastructure that we put in the beginning. That's what it takes. I mean, you got to get good acts, and you got to blend in. You got to blend in local acts with a little bit of acts around the country, and we do that very well. So nice. I think the good mix is spending the right money on the right equipment, doing it right, and don't nickel dime it, because if you're going to have music. And everybody in the room, does everyone know that Mitch is a musician? Yes. So Mitch is a musician. I've seen him live on our stage, which we'll get to that. But I would say the man's guitars and the things that he spends money on, right? It's called passion, right?
Yeah, it's a passion.
So it starts with that. We all know this business pretty well by now. It starts with passion.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the memories that you've made with musicians and music in your brewery. And you know, I've been lucky. I mean, we're not, you know, New Realm's not known as a music-themed brewery by any stretch, but we do have a pretty good music program up in Virginia Beach, and we've gotten some really good bands in there.
You have.
We've gotten Living Color, we've gotten Cracker, you know, bands that I really liked back in the 90s.
Stick Figures,
and
one of
Stick
my favorites.
Figures,
I told you, I called you, it's like, yep. Are you going to be there? Because I love those guys live.
Exactly, yes. So, but I mean, you bring in, you know, you've partnered up with some local Cincinnati musicians, and you've brought in some great acts. Tell me about some of the cool things that you've been able to do with that. And some of your favorite memories.
I got to tell you, man, we had some bands from Connecticut, Kung Fu. They're like a jam band. Like they're up and coming, but they are great musicians. And if you're into the jam band thing, Kung Fu is a great band. We brought them in. We've had Jennifer Hartswick. Jennifer Hartswick she plays with the Trey Nastasio band, and she's like their main. We've had her on our stage. Man, there's so many. But some of the fun stuff, and honestly, we've had great bands play on our stage. But I got to tell you, the moments that make me just like want to stay there are moments like where our team members have their own bands.
Yeah.
And they're our brewers, our sales guys, and we allow them to play on our stage. You talk about a party. You got your sales manager that's in a band, and he's a great drummer.
Yeah.
And his band wants to play. Like, everybody in the brewery wants to be there.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows each other. Like,
Yeah.
it's just great for just our networking and how just our team is built around music and beer. And that's just the infrastructure that we just love to see come to life.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of my other great stories is Mitch came and see us one time. We did a collaboration a couple years back, and we invited Mitch up to Fretboard, and Mitch just shares a great passion for guitars, and we actually had about a 2-hour session where you're able to put some practice together with the band, our house band, and I got pictures of this. I swear they'll be on the internet. But Mitch played live at the Fretboard main stage on Wednesday night for a happy hour, and it was just awesome. We had a good crowd, and it was just fun.
It was fun. It was tremendous fun, and I showed up, and we had been. Jim had been emailing me, some song ideas, and I said, I think I can handle that, or I can handle that, and we got in a back room, and we kind of tootled around for a little bit before we and we made it work, and then we broke into some surprising stuff, and it was tremendous fun, and having a couple of beers and picking up a guitar and playing music was great. I remember we had a house band at Stone. And we were called the Flocculators. That was the name of the band, with nice use reference to that.
I remember reading about this.
Yeah, sure. And we used to play at our anniversary parties, and we did a collaboration beer with a guitar player. His name is Kerry Kelly.
Oh yeah.
And Kerry Kelly played with the Alice Cooper band, and he plays with Night Ranger now, and he's been playing with Night Ranger for several years. And he used to rehearse at one of Greg Cook's rehearsal studios.
Yeah.
And so they got to and we did a collaboration beer with him, and at the anniversary party, we're up there, just a bunch of Stone brewers and salespeople, and we're playing these songs. And he said, "I want to sit in with you guys." And he picked up a guitar and he sat in with us, and it was the funnest thing. And it's just, it just kind of brings all that together, and it's just so much fun.
Well, Mitch, I got to ask you. I don't think I've ever brewed a batch of beer without music.
Yeah.
Our guys. So at Fretboard, there's a rule: the first brewer of the day gets control of the radio.
Okay, great.
So their play mix, it can be anywhere. So at Fretboard, what we do is we have 6 full-time brewers, and we all rotate. So the rotation is you can be on days, or you can be on the second shift brew.
Yeah.
So, or your second brew of their day. So the collection of music is very diverse at the brewery. So, but the first brewer, till their brew's done, they're in control of that radio or that sound system. So
that's a nice rule.
It is the rule. It's the rule.
Well, let me ask you this: have you ever had a situation where you had to pull the plug on the music because somebody made a horrible choice?
Well, let me tell you, my office is up the hallway, and I'm able to shut my door. So at Fretboard, we made all our offices soundproof, because if we ever wanted to make them into rehearsal rooms, you can't hear outside of them. So that's never happened to me, but I will tell you, I've had a couple texts from some of the other brewery guys saying, well, we knew who's on the brew deck this morning. So
I remember at Stone, we had kind of a similar thing, and there was a guy who wanted to always play Bruce Springsteen, which there's nothing wrong with that, but in San Diego and then in the early 2000s, people weren't into it,
Right.
and then Greg Cook outlawed Johnny Cash, which I thought was tragic, and then one of our brewers played Tenacious D. And that almost got him fired.
I believe that. I believe that.
I believe that. A lot of fun though. Yeah, we do the music thing in the brewery too. We've got speakers out into the brewery, and it's always rotating, and I rarely pick the music. It's like I want to let the brewers pick their own music, and sometimes I have to shut the door, but it's all right.
All right, Mitch, I got a question for you.
All right.
I know you're interviewing me, but I've got to ask this question. All right, how many? I hope your wife isn't listening, but how many guitars do you currently have in your portfolio?
I don't know. It is probably somewhere in between 15 and 20.
I believe it.
I have I have 4 acoustic guitars, and everything else is electric.
Yes.
I've got a Gibson SG. I've got a semi-hollow. I've got a Stratocaster. I've got a Gibson Les Paul, a double cutaway Les Paul. That's the one I brought up to Fretboard.
That was pretty badass.
Yeah. So I've got a bunch. I'm actually looking to sell some, just because I don't play them that much anymore. And down in Atlanta, there's a guy named JR, John Roberts, who owns Bold Monk Brewery, and he's a Berkeley School of Music trained musician, and he and I and a guy who's a pediatrician in Atlanta, but who's also a musician, have gotten together and played some music sometimes. So that's been fun. But yeah, I've got more guitars than I need, but it's hard to get rid of them. It's hard.
So one of our brewers, Mike Wally, he's out there. He's a great bass guitarist.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He's great. But every week he's in the brewery, and I'm like, Mike, do I pay you too much to be a brewer? Because you got more bass guitars I've ever seen. But the man loves it. He's passionate about it, but he's good at his craft. He tells me the exact same thing. I'm passionate about my bass guitars, like Kevin. You are about those ingredients that go in that beer. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I remember he was selling some beer recently.
Oh yeah.
Let's shift gears a little bit.
All
mean, we'll work the music back into it, but tell me about, when I went and visited you guys the first time, you had one location in Blue Ash.
Yes.
You've opened up a few since then. Where are you? Tell me about your locations and what you got going on there.
Well, I tell you what, Mitch, we kind of learned after that first, tap room that we had something special, with the music and the beer. And with Cincinnati just being a great music town with all the history, we were like, all right, let's try another location. Well, honestly, and I'll tell you, great friends here, Cole and Dave of Sun King, if they're around, those guys have been great to me. I reached out to them in my early days, and funny story, Jim Matt or Rheingeist, good friend of mine, he was in charge of quality back in the early days here at Sun King before Rheingeist actually opened.
Okay.
And I met Jim here. He's from Indiana, but me and him started chatting on my trip here to meet Clay and Dave, and I happened to walk in the brewery here at in Indianapolis, and I walked in and I'll say, hey, I'm here to meet Clay, and it was Jim Matt. Jim was like, hey, are you the guys from Cincinnati? I said, yeah. He said, my wife is from Cincinnati, and I would love to get back there at some point. She wants to get closer to home. So that man has helped me a whole lot with my quality program. But that little story was a tidbit I had to mention today. I know Jim's here running around somewhere.
Yeah,
but
I just saw him walk by. Yeah.
but that story was special to me, and how he was able to help Rheingeist get off the ground, with Truth being his first recipe.
Yep.
And one of his home brews. But going back to your original question is, in the last few years, I reached out to Clay and Dave, and I said, hey, how is your beer halls doing and your food halls? And so we got to talking, but they opened me with open arms and said, come on down to Carmel, check out some of the things we're doing, as well as you have, Mitch. So thank you so much. But you know what? Obviously, we talked right before this podcast. We're like, creating experiences for people around Cincinnati that have uniqueness, and that's what we've done, and it's worked. Can I tell you, we put the gamble out there? Yes, sure we did. But we're creating different experiences with each location, and we believe that's the roadmap to success. So, that's what we've seen.
So let's talk about it from a business standpoint. You know, you've got tap rooms. You sell your beer in distribution, but you're selling beer over your bar in tap rooms. And everybody knows the brewing industry's in a really tough spot. And talk about a little bit about how the taproom model is working for you versus what's going on with distribution.
Well, Mitch, I'll tell you, our first 2.5 years, we've self-distributed all of our beer throughout Ohio, and we were able to grow that business into a good, healthy business. But we came to the point where that was something we could not tame. And honestly, we could tame a lot of it, but when you're starting to deal with chain distribution with large chain stores, and it just was not feasible for us to continue.
Sure.
So we had to reach out to a distributor eventually, and you know what? That's been great for us. But we learned, I would say, since COVID, that everyone knows the dynamics have changed since then.
Sure
right?
has.
So we understand that people still want to go out, but it's got to be a unique setting. And I would tell you, since that change of COVID and changing from self-distro to going to a distributor, we know that, hey, people still want to come out and listen to great music and drink craft beer. Now, we know there's a lot of offerings, and I got to tell you, keeping up with your quality, having a great product, but having a great environment has helped us along the way, and that's what we're staying true to. So, I'll be a broken record. It's just like, if you're on a QC program and you're in charge of quality, you're gonna beat the thing to death.
Yeah.
Do the SOPs, do the things you're doing. We are going to stay to our passion and do things quality-wise. So.
That's awesome. It's funny. Distribution's such a tough game right now, and we have how many locations? You have 4 locations, right?
So we have 4 locations, and each 4 of our locations have a little different setting.
Yeah.
One, we have a full-fledged restaurant in. One, we're involved in a food hall, like the place up here in Carmel.
Yep.
One of our locations is in a rural area where there's not a lot of things around. So we're really hand-picking each location to make it successful from the start.
Yeah, we have 6 locations now, and we know we make a lot more money with the beer going across the bar than we do in distribution. And it's gotten to the point where the distributors are not taking new brands. They're SKU rationalizing. They're cutting the number of beers that they carry. And the tap rooms are really where you get to, really do the innovative beers and do rotations and really get new beers in front of people. And I think it's just a great business model.
Mitch, I just did an article with another local publication in the craft beer industry, and that question came up. And I'll tell you, I answered that question with one sentence, and I said, understand what you sell and sell it what it's worth.
Yeah.
Okay? So we've made that model our model.
Okay.
And our quality is our quality, and we stopped line item pricing our beer. So we have changed our model.
That's interesting.
We have changed our model, and we price our beer with what ingredients we put in it and what quality we believe behind it.
So you make sure every beer you make is going to have profitability.
That's of course. That's
right.
And
I will tell you that so many people are not there yet.
No.
And we've gone through that process as well. And it doesn't mean cutting corners. It means understanding what it costs to make your beer making sure you price it so you don't lose money on it.
If I can encourage anybody in this room, go back and look at your cost of goods and make sure it's profitable.
Awesome. We're going to take a short break for this message and then come right back for more of this conversation with Kevin.
First Tee is a proud sponsor of the Brewer to Brewer podcast. First Tee has worked with top brewers across the country to bring popular and innovative ingredients to beer and hard tea. Contact First Tee to learn more about natural and flavorful teas, botanicals, and instant teas. Email info@firsttee.com. That's FIRSDTEA.com to find out more. Since 2009, Brewery Branding has been crafting merch that helps breweries thrive. They're born and raised in Portland, Oregon, giving them front row seats to the craft beer revolution and inspiring them to serve as your industry ally for everything branded. Apparel, headwear, drinkware, and all of the wouldn't it be cool if ideas you can dream up. Brewery Branding has been there, done that, and made the t-shirts to prove it. Brewery Branding didn't rise to the top just by being just another supplier. They're your merch mercenaries, ready to get in the trenches with you. Their expert design team, online stores, warehousing, and fulfillment services are here to make your life easier and your custom goods more profitable than painful. Whether you're refreshing your retail space, gearing up for festival season, or launching a new product in retail, Brewery Branding delivers custom goods that are on trend, on brand, and ready to succeed. From the smallest batch to the biggest order, nothing gets them more excited than raising a glass to your success. Visit brewerybranding.com to learn more.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to get back into our conversation with Kevin Moreland from Fretboard Brewing Company. I want to talk a little bit about Cincinnati.
All right.
Now, you know that I'm a Cincinnati native. My family goes back several generations in Cincinnati. I have a very soft spot in my heart for the city. I remember my grandfather telling me stories about the beer scene in Cincinnati during the Depression and during the 1940s and 50s, drinking Hudepol, drinking Christian Moreland. There's a very rich German beer tradition in Cincinnati. And then, and as craft beer has come along, there's been a wonderful explosion of craft beer in Cincinnati. And I wanted to, and I just love visiting the city. I mean, not just because I have roots there, but because it's a very cool town and there's a really great beer scene there. There's so many good breweries there and so many people making great beer. But tell me, I mean, are you a native of Cincinnati?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so tell me what that means to you, the tradition and where Cincinnati is now, because I don't think people look at Cincinnati as a great beer town yet, and I think it is, and I found kind of the same thing when I moved to Atlanta. It's a great beer town. People just don't really realize it yet.
Right.
So tell me on Cincinnati. Why should people come to Cincinnati and experience the beer scene there?
Well, honestly, I got to tell you, the Queen City, we call it, right?
Yep.
The Brewery Heritage Trail of downtown in the Over the Rhine district. So OTR, Over the Rhine, it is where the Germans came to settle in the pre-Prohibition days. We have so many lagering tunnels underneath the streets of Cincinnati where they would hustle pork or bring barrels of beer through, and that history is still living today with the buildings and the Heritage Brewing Trail giving tours. So you can come to Cincinnati and still get a piece of that history in all of these buildings. I mentioned Jim Matt earlier, but Rheingeist, one of the largest breweries in Ohio, but now nationally, is in an old Christian Moreland bottling plant from the pre-Prohibition days. There are tunnels underneath the streets of the brewery and throughout the city's landscape. So that's the coolest part. But and I would say 1850s, Cincinnati was the 8th largest city in the country for making beer, but they did it lager-wise with the lagering tunnels. And that history has just resonated with me. And since I've been brewing beer, I've had a passion for lager beer. But throughout Cincinnati, there's restaurants, there's street names, there's so much German history in Cincinnati that I knew that eventually this lager wave was going to come. But in my whole career, I've tried to learn that art of brewing lager beer. And I would tell you, there's over 75 craft breweries in Cincinnati right now to date within a, I would say, 25 to 20-mile radius.
75 breweries?
75
That's
breweries.
impressive.
75 breweries. Now, they range from a couple 100,000 barrels to making 1,000 barrels a year, right? So, but you're going to get everything along the way. And we have so much variety with like Urban Artifact with their sour program.
Yep.
So I have to tell you, the history of Cincinnati started not only with the German heritage, but just, I got to tell you, a lot of people, it was a beer drinking town.
Yeah.
Per capita, if you look at the numbers the Brewer Association posts for Ohio, there's a lot of good beer drinkers in Ohio.
There sure are. Ohio as a state is amazing for beer. Yeah.
It is a lot of good beer drinkers out there in Ohio.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. I know Mary's running around out there from our help there. But I got to tell you, honestly, you name it, you've got blood there. Seems like everyone's got a cousin, a brother, an uncle that lives in Ohio or Cincinnati. So,
I tell you, I remember talking to my mother about this, and my mother's still alive. She's in her 90s now, but she would tell me the stories, and her parents, my grandparents, drank a lot of beer back in the day, and they used to go to the beer gardens in Cincinnati, and they would hang out on Sunday afternoons and drink beer. And my mom would tell me about how she would carry the bucket full of beer back to their house for my grandfather. I mean, I love that.
Everyone's
stuff.
got a story like that in Cincinnati.
That's
and
awesome.
That's so cool because honestly, there's large breweries like Boston Beer that their family was inbred in Hudepohl, and they decided to build, their largest brewery. And one of his old, Jim Cook decided to say, hey, he was a Cincinnati guy.
Yeah.
He knew the heritage and what's been built. And water's a big thing. Cincinnati water, great water for brewing beer. Great water for brewing beer.
It's cool. It's really cool that a city that had that kind of a brewing heritage that kind of went away.
It went away.
Is now coming back and with craft beer. And there's so many great people brewing great beer in Cincinnati.
Yes.
And I feel very, very fortunate to have gotten to know you guys and the folks at Rheingeist and, of course, Sam Adams. And it's just a wonderful beer scene. And I heartily recommend anybody who's traveling through the Midwest make a stop in Cincinnati and check out some beers because you won't be disappointed.
There's a lot of history. You go through OTR or over the Rhine District and just see all the historical buildings with the breweries that's in them. I mean, I would say 10, 11 years ago, I took an 1850s church and I worked with the city and they invested capital. We took an 1850s church that was dilapidated and about to fall on its own face, and we built it into a brewery and restaurant. And it was phenomenal. It was the most beautiful thing for the city. And there's a lot of stories like that in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So we're going to crack open a beer here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to drink one of Kevin's beers right now. This is called Vlad.
Oh, yeah.
Vlad Pilsner, and you've won some awards with this beer.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite beers that you guys brew.
Yeah.
Tell me about the beer.
Well, this beer started. I got a couple of beers out in front of us, guys. So every beer that Fretboard makes has a music theme. And honestly, me and Mitch, we just collaborated on another beer that we did a couple years ago. We brought it back this year. I know Mitch couldn't make the time to come down because of this, but we created a beer called Peach Pickin' Time.
Yep.
A peach lactose-infused cream ale, and we use those Georgia peaches. The main location for him in New Realm is in Georgia, and we use those fresh Georgia peaches, but that beer's getting ready to launch. But Vlad is that true... How do you want to say? It's a hybrid style Pilsner. We call it an international style Pilsner.
Perfect.
It did win a World Beer Cup for international style Pilsner. It's won a lot of different awards through different societies. But pretty simple. Recipe is 100% German Pils malt and Czech Saaz hops. Good lager techniques.
It's absolutely beautiful beer. So you guys are managing that fermentation because that is the secret to making a good lager. Is managing the fermentation and the aging process.
Yeah.
And this beer is fantastic. And if you've never had Vlad Pilsner, highly recommend you go out and try it. Now, did you enter this in this year's World Beer Cup?
Well, we did, and we did enter that in the International Pilsner category.
Okay.
But a couple of beers we got up here today. We got Peso in my hand, so that's a little riff to a Grateful Dead song, Mexicali Blues.
Yeah, sure.
Peso in my hand. Vlad, that tends to Vlad the Impaler. It's a little lyric in a Fish song.
Yep.
We got center field up here. John Fogerty.
John Fogerty, yeah.
Yeah, we got center field up here. So, we've got a little bit of everything, but everything has to have a little music theme to it.
That's awesome.
And we get everybody involved, the brewers, marketing. So there's not a beer in our lineup that doesn't have a music theme to it.
We get to do some of that. We don't do as much as you do, but
Blackberry Smoke.
But we did do the beer
project,
Blackberry
beer.
Smoke. Let's talk about just collaboration kind of music things with beer for a little bit. So we did a beer they're an Atlanta-based band. They're a Southern rock band. They play kind of, I find their music kind of in between Leonard Skinner and the Allman Brothers. They can jam out. They got a lot of like 1970s Rolling Stones influences in them. Yeah. They're fantastic musicians. They're great people. We do a beer with them. We got hooked up with them through charity work. Yeah. And the proceeds for the beer, some of the proceeds go to a charity that supports families that are dealing with childhood cancer. So it's a win on so many levels, and it's been one of the most gratifying projects that I've ever been able to work on in the brewing business. And I love the beer. We've won several medals with it, which is an icing on the cake. Tell me about you. You've done some of that kind of stuff as well. Talk about Bootsy Collins. Come on.
Well, yeah. Bootsy's a great, how do you want to say, advocate for not only music and the funk industry, but bass guitarist. But he's an advocate for Cincinnati. And we also, we've done 2 beers with Bootsy. One, Bootsy Collins. Actually, I reached out to Mitch here. It's a brewed style IPA.
Yep.
I'm like, how the hell do I make a brewed IPA? And I said, Mitch, you got any pointers? So thank you, Mitch. You helped me out with that back in the day. But we made that beer, and the proceeds of that beer actually, they fund Bootsy's foundation that help underprivileged kids in music programs. So it buys them guitars, drums, music instruments of all sorts throughout low-income markets throughout Cincinnati.
Oh, fantastic!
So proceeds of that beer go to his foundation. Then we just launched Fear the Tiger. So Bootsy Collins has his own song for our beloved Cincinnati Bengals. It's,
Fear the Tiger. Yeah.
Fear the Tiger. So Fear the Tiger's a cream ale, and we did enter that beer this year in World Beer Cup. So.
Fantastic. Well, best of luck to you.
Yeah.
I did not judge either one of those categories, so I could not help you out there.
All right.
I hope you do well. And I always, with the World Beer Cup, it's so hard to win a medal, and there's so many good beers on the table.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody I really respect and like wins a medal, it's a victory. I just am so happy. So good luck. I hope it goes
too,
well.
Mitch.
And thank you. And we'll see how it goes. It's one of the things I wanted to ask you about was just, y'all do a whole bunch of different styles of beer.
Yeah.
And you talked about loving to brew lagers and stuff.
Yeah.
But what are some of the favorite beers that you've been involved with putting out the door, and brewing and getting out the door?
Well, I got to tell you, through my career, and I have brewed the gamut of beer, right? But I believe today's market, you got to have balance in your portfolio.
Yep.
So you got to have something for everyone. If your market is, you're going to try to get people in your door, you definitely got to have a variety of balance. And I believe in balance. So our beers, I'm not overly aggressive with bitterness, and I just want people to enjoy more than one beer. And sometimes style doesn't fit my guidelines for what IBUs may be. I just make a beer that I know that's going to be drinkable, sessionable, and you definitely could have more than one, right? So I will tell you, I'd say some of the fun projects that I've had along the way was definitely one working with you on Peach Picking Time.
Yep.
We brought that back. Another big hero of mine and good friend and and we share the same passion for German beers as Matt Cole.
Yeah.
Me and Matt Cole. I know everyone thinks Matt is the hophead.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
But he is, right?
Headhunter IPA, man.
But he is, and he knows how to do that. But we share a passion for the Franconian style beers of Bavaria, and we've traveled to certain places. We know some of our same friends over in Bavaria. So me and him worked on a couple beer projects in the last year and a half to 2 years. We continue to work together on beers.
That's great.
And then Kevin up at Woolly Pig Farm, we share the same passion for also those Franconian style beers.
That's great.
So me and him make some beers in the past, but those things that we can't do and throw out to the masses, maybe in retail, but we can work on special projects and throw in our tap room, and those mean a lot to me because I respect everyone I work with and ask questions for, and we're able to come out with something awesome. Yeah, and that's fun for me. So
yeah, that is one of the most gratifying things about the beer industry is just being able to pick people's brains and get ideas and brew with people who have similar passions for beer. And I know Kevin and Matt both really well, and I can certainly see how that would work for you.
Oh yeah.
And they're just great brewers and great people. They've been saying for years that the lagers are coming back, and I really think that now is the time. It is coming back. We sell a lot of lagers out of our tap room.
Yeah.
It's been really fun for me to veer off of the IPA train for a little bit and do some really nice lagers, and I will still, to the day I die, love brewing IPAs, and that's what I'm all about. But if I can make a lager that wins a medal at the World Beer Cup, I am so ecstatic about that,
that's a great point you just brought up, Mitch, because when I launched Fretboard with my founding partners, the first beer in our tank was Vlad.
Okay.
The second year we won World Beer Cup.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, right? I mean, to have new guys that's never been in the industry just believe, and they were hopheads, right?
Yeah.
Everything they want to do is hoppy, and I'm like, guys, we need a good lager.
Yeah.
Vlad was the beer. First beer in the tanks. Second year out. Won World Beer Cup. And it just, it's a part of like believing and knowing that things are going to come around. And I felt that a while ago. And we continue to be on that trajectory.
That's awesome. And let's...
I got a funny story, Mitch, real quick.
Okay, yeah, let's hear the story.
I got to go back to my homebrew roots, and I was a big proponent of, reading my Brew Your Own magazines, all of them, or my Zymergens, right?
Yeah.
So, I came from Cincinnati, where Dan Listerman helped put home brewing on the map in Cincinnati and in Ohio. I was in the store, and I'm going back, and I got one of my magazines in the mail, and it had your young face on it.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
Yeah,
yes.
and it gave a recipe for Stone IPA.
Yes.
And I remember that, and I still have that magazine today in my file. And let me tell you, I remember just being so cool that I could make Stone IPA at home, and I bet I tried to make that beer a couple times and I probably drank Stone IPA while I made it. But it was so funny. Mitch was on the cover, and he had a beer, and it was probably like Ruination, and it was in like a 32-ounce mug.
Yeah, it was
and
a
I
big,
was laughing. So that's the story. I'm like, here's Mitch back in the day drinking a Stone Ruination out of a 32-ounce mug.
I tell you, those days at Stone were awesome, and being able to do that article and get the cover on Brew Your Own was great. And I've worked with the Brew Your Own folks for ever since then, and they've asked me to do some reviews of some articles and things like that. They're great folks, and that was just a wonderful thing for me, and to be able to do that. And it's cool that you still have it.
Oh, I
still have it too. Honestly, let's talk a little bit about. Do you guys at Fretboard? Do you do any non-beer alcoholic beverages or non-alcoholic beverages?
So we dabbled, but I've got to tell you, I'm a purist of beer.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I do not, how do I say, my business partners have asked me to do everything under the sun, from cider to seltzer to non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
The only non-alcoholic product that we serve at any of our locations that we produce is a seltzer water that we infuse with either different botanicals or different fruits.
Okay.
And
all right.
that's it.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to sit up here today and tell everyone I'm going to live and die by the sword of beer, because that's what built our city. That's who built me. And I believe in the circle. As much as there is a history, that circle will come back to what we do. You just got to stay true to what you do, put the quality behind it, and make sure you're putting good business plans behind what you know you're doing good at.
Fantastic. It's funny because we do everything. You know,
I know you do.
our crowd in Atlanta likes to drink, but they don't always like to drink beer, and so we have to. We've gone off. We've done seltzers. We've done ciders. We're doing Delta 9 THC beverages now. And I always admire folks that have stuck to the guns on beer, because beer is my passion, and I believe me, I don't have a problem making these beverages. It's been interesting, it's been challenging, and I always like to be challenged. But there's part of me that says, man, I'd love it if everybody came into our Atlanta tap room and just wanted beer. That'd be so awesome.
We'll be back there someday.
Yeah.
Promise you.
So
there is a product, I will tell you. I've been making lagers of all sorts, but in the last, I would say, 2.5 years, we started making a true light lager.
Okay.
And I'm talking low carbs, low alcohol, not a lot of hops.
I tell you, people
God
love
bless it. It's the most challenging thing I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, there's a lot of good brewers out there that's helped me, and a lot of good quality labs that's helped me through this process.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, a lot of good yeast manufacturers here at the conference that's helped me as well. And let me tell you, you talk about a challenge. That's a damn challenge.
It's a hard beer to brew, and people don't give it enough credit for being that. And I know, to brew a beer that's that light, from a brewing standpoint, is really hard. And craft beer purists will snub their nose at it, and I understand that, and that's okay. But when you have people that are, especially younger people that are very health conscious and watching their calorie intake and everything, you got to have something like that. So good on you.
Yes.
I wanted to say this. So peach picking time.
Yes.
I want you guys to come down to Atlanta and brew that beer with us this summer.
I want to come do it. It'll be a good time.
We are on board. So when we wrap up here, we are going to talk about getting you to Atlanta.
All right.
And
bring the guitars.
Bring guitars. See what the
Gotta
hell.
do
Let
that,
me work
right?
on that. Yeah, and that'll be tremendous fun.
Yes.
Great times. And I really, I was surprised and thrilled that you guys were brewing that beer again.
Yes.
And I brought that forth to our sales and marketing team last week and said, hey, what if we brought the folks from Fretboard down to Atlanta and we brewed a batch of this beer? Would you guys be into it? And they're like, yes. So
it's a fun time. It's a good project. I will say, everyone out there that's in the crowd, can I get everyone's attention and just give Mitch Steele a round of applause for what he's done for our industry as a whole, and be an advocate for the craft beer community, because a man at his young age and continuing to just be a supporter and an advocate for what we all love to do, and just to be as open as anyone I've ever met. I appreciate it, and thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Kevin. You know what? It's been an amazing career for me.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know so many great people.
Yeah.
I've been in this business for almost 40 years. I've seen it from the beginning,
40 years.
That's
awesome.
I love the beer industry. I will never stop loving the beer industry.
Yeah.
So I think we're about to wrap up here.
All right.
Kevin, it's been an absolute treasure. And pleasure to have you here and chat with you like this. I love coming to your place and having a beer with you and talking technical brewing and talking fun and talking music and everything else. You got a great team. at Fretboard, that ownership group there, I just gelled with them. I felt like we were just very simpatico, and I just love hanging with you guys.
Well, Mitch is not allowed to come to Cincinnati without a guitar, so he's usually got to figure out how to make that happen. But it's been awesome, and it's been awesome. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast, John. Thank you so much for inviting me on the podcast, and thanks for everyone at All About Beer.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. Just a reminder, visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media. To support journalism in the beer space, which is critical for all of our success, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. Once again, my name is Mitch Steele. I'm with New Realm Brewing. Thank you for listening to the Brewer to Brewer podcast. We're going to wrap this up. Appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Cheers.
Since 2009, Brewery Branding has been crafting merch that helps breweries thrive. They're born and raised in Portland, Oregon, giving them front row seats to the craft beer revolution and inspiring them to serve as your industry ally for everything branded. Apparel, headwear, drinkware, and all of the wouldn't it be cool if ideas you can dream up. Brewery Branding has been there, done that, and made the t-shirts to prove it. Brewery Branding didn't rise to the top just by being just another supplier. They're your merch mercenaries, ready to get in the trenches with you. Their expert design team, online stores, warehousing, and fulfillment services are here to make your life easier and your custom goods more profitable than painful. Whether you're refreshing your retail space, gearing up for festival season, or launching a new product in retail, Brewery Branding delivers custom goods that are on trend, on brand, and ready to succeed. From the smallest batch to the biggest order, nothing gets them more excited than raising a glass to your success. Visit brewerybranding.com to learn more. First Tea is a proud sponsor of the Brewer to Brewer podcast. First Tea has worked with top brewers across the country to bring popular and innovative ingredients to beer and hard tea. Contact First Tea to learn more about natural and flavorful teas, botanicals, and instant teas. Email info@firsttea.com. That's FIRSDTEA.com to find out more.